Hello, today's topic is all about stretching. Now there's so much information out there about it, so many different opinions and research, and you can get lost in it, can't you? What should you be stretching? What shouldn't you be stretching? How much stretching? How long to hold? So we're going to talk all about that today. Now, stretching is the reason why I think the research can be kind of confusing if you dive into it is because it's very individual. It's almost more about how you were born than what the research shows. Now let's talk about this Rockaboto scale. It's really fun. You'll get some information about yourself and stretching and possibly some injuries you've had it now or in the past to make more sense of it. It's really fun. So Rockaboto scale, put your hand out like this, flat, and then you're gonna see if your baby finger goes pretty close to 90 degrees. I'm gonna give myself a point, okay? And if my finger only goes to here, I'm not gonna give myself a point. You can get up to 9, and it's not a competition, it's about how you were born. So I pretty much can go up to 90 degrees. And so if you can do that much range of motion with that baby finger while everything else is straight, give yourself 2 points, and maybe you can do it on one and not the other. There's nothing wrong. just observe what I'm saying, and I hope you get more information about you. Now, the next one is you're going to take your thumb and bring it, see if you can touch your forearm, which I can here. And then on the other side too. Sometimes you can do it on one and not the other due to an injury or whatever. So I'm up to 4 out of 4. Now, I don't get these because when I stretch out my arm like this, my elbow and my hand, my wrist, are at the same level, okay? Now, someone who's hypermobile at the elbow, they'll look more like that. And I'm lifting the shoulder here to pretend this. So if your hand goes a little lower than the elbow, you give yourself a point. Mine doesn't. And you would check on both sides as well. Now, stand in front of a mirror, get a side view of your body, and really extend your knees as much as you can. Do you hyperextend? Do your knees go a little bit back so your leg is like a little bit like a banana? And give yourself 2 more points if that's the case. I do that. That happens to me. And then the next one, the last point, number 9, is can you stand with your knees straight, bend forward, and put your hands flat on the floor? I've just always been able to do that. It's not hard. I don't really feel a stretch. And if you can do that too, give yourself a point. And if not, don't. So I'm about a 7 because I could do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my knees, 5, 6, and then I can touch my hands to the ground. So figure out as best you can, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, what you are. And again, this is giving you information. So if you're not sure about one of them, don't worry. Are you higher than a 5? Are you lower than a 5? I have a family member who's probably a 1. I'm not sure which one he can do, but that tells us that he can stretch any muscle on any given day. He can do any stretch in his body, and it will be a positive thing for him. Me, on the other hand, I'm at a 7 out of 10. I do really well with only stretching what's tight. I'll explain that in a moment. And doing more strengthening of the stabilizers, the little muscles around all of our joints. Every single joint we have, there's little muscles. And if I wake those up, I can do way better at keeping my posture good and keeping myself injury free than if I do a lot of stretching. Because my design is I'm more flexible. His design, the 1 out of 9, my family member, his design is he's more tight. Okay? And again, that confusing research and information about stretching, it's all because it's really individual. Now, he is more likely, the lower you are on this scale, you're more likely to get injuries such as muscle tears, right? You're more likely to injure your muscles. Someone like me, higher up, I'm more likely to kind of injure my joints. Okay, because my muscles are so they're not super tight and carrying a lot of tension, so the impact for someone like me would go more to my joint. Again, general information. there can be variability in there, but this one really is quite an interesting thing to wonder about yourself and to see in other people. Now, stretching, in my opinion, the goal of stretching, the reason why you want to stretch is because a muscle is shorter than it should be, right? Now, So often the case is a muscle can feel tight, but it's not because it's short. It's just because it's working too hard and our posture's not great. So you really want to take the muscles that are tight and stretch them. So how do you know this? A safe way to start is the front of your body, right? We roll our shoulders forward, we have that tendency, we sit. So stretching the front of the thigh is a great one, the front of your hip, a lunge, and stretching your chest, opening up, lying on a foam roller, something beautiful like that. That's a great place to start because that generally, because of our lifestyle of sitting a lot, can be very helpful for almost everybody. Now, there's also people who can benefit a lot from stretching the back of their hips, their hamstrings. I know people get really tight hamstrings, but often the tight hamstrings and the tight lower back, it's because the glutes are asleep. But again, they can still be really tight. So yes, there are people out there, and again, the lower you are on this scale, the more stretching anything in your body will be hugely beneficial. Okay, and what I recommend is to do your stretching before you work out or go to do any activity, even go for a walk. The goal of stretching, like I said, was to stretch muscles that are shorter. Now, if I do that, I'm going to help with what? Your posture and alignment. Beautiful, right? Now, another tidbit to know about stretching is if you're someone who's about to do, a bunch of push-ups or a big chest press or, something that's going to take effort in an area of your body, an exercise, it's not a great choice or great idea to do a big stretch for that muscle and then go and lift something really heavy. It can have a tendency to create a little bit of weakness, okay? But at the start of a workout, stretching what's tight, I recommend starting with the front of the body, whether you're high or low on that scale. And if you're lower on that scale, stretch whatever you can because it's probably going to be beneficial. And when you go, if you get treatment from a physio, they have really easy techniques to see if your muscles are tight. It's super easy for them to tell you, and so you can have them test it and then go and retest it, even if it's not related to you're there for a shoulder thing, but you want to start knowing if hip stretching is right for you. They'd be able to tell you that information quite easily. All right, so stretching is confusing, the research out there, and in my opinion, because it's how really our design and how we're born. And yes, it can change over time. Like, I probably could do this a lot easier, even go further back a few years ago. But again, this is giving us information. If you're even close to here, give yourself a point. Okay, and you probably know these things about yourself, like, oh, I always get joint issues, or oh, my spouse always gets muscle tears. Oh, he's way tighter than I am. Whatever it is. So I hope that's helpful about stretching. Starting with the front of the body, the chest, the front of the legs is super helpful. And if you're someone lower on that scale, stretch anything. Do it before you do your activity because you're doing it for better alignment. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have about stretching. It is obviously a phenomenal tool for so many of us. And I just wanted to really create that thought for you, and question is, if you're higher up on the scale and you're not moving forward the way you want to be with your exercise program, maybe tweaking the stretching would be really helpful for you and adding in a little more strengthening. Alrighty, thank you so much. Would love to hear how your stretching routine is going and happy to answer any questions you have. Bye-bye.